Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's episode 30 of the Rollout Show. We're back, and we're here. And yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How you doing, man?
Just, I'm doing okay. Little somber today, but it's okay.
A little somber, yeah.
I mean, the entire sports world is worse off for having lost their pride and joy, Aaron Rodgers. But, it's fine. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'll be fine.
Who's he play for again?
I hate you. He's only the GOAT.
I mean...
Now the only fun quarterback left to watch is, Carson Wentz.
Deshaun Watson?
We'll see. I'm not...
Derek Carr? Alex Smith?
Derek Carr hasn't been the same this year. Alex Smith, when he has time, sure. But he's still, if any pressure is around him, he just falls. Carson Wentz will... He squared someone up. Did you see that? Did you see the play?
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
He squared up a linebacker. He didn't win, but he squared him up. Yeah, he shouldn't be doing that. Carson Wentz, don't do that. That's a bad idea.
I think that's what they were saying. We appreciate your toughness and heart, but you can't be.
You need to slide.
You can't be doing that because we need you to stay healthy if we're going to win.
It was sweet though. I loved it. He's so fun to watch because, in the same vein as Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't just take sacks. He refuses to take sacks.
So kind of like Andrew Luck would too.
Yeah. Just like Andrew Luck. Well, although Andrew Luck, that was every play. So if he just took a sack anytime there was pressure, he'd have 0 yards and 0 touchdowns every season.
And he'd be out of the league. So
yeah, can't have that.
So instead, he has to just lower the shoulder, his non-throwing shoulder, of course, and just truck him over.
Non-throwing shoulder.
Yeah,
of course. Got to use the non-throwing.
You can't land on your throwing shoulder.
Yeah, right, Tom?
Yeah, because, it doesn't matter if you break your other collarbone landing. You can still play with that, right?
You probably could, to be fair. But, hey, it's time for Brett Hundley, the NFL's all-time leader in preseason yardage. He did lead the year one year in, preseason quarterback performance.
And that means
literally nothing because he looked real bad coming in for Aaron Rodgers. I think he threw 3 picks. I hope he's better. I think he will be after a week of preparation.
I think he will. It's just because that whole team is centered around Aaron Rodgers basically doing whatever he wants to. That whole offense is. So, it would be tough for really anybody to come in relief of him.
It's basically impossible.
Unless you're
now they're going to have to become
Ben Roethlisberger.
They're going to have to become a defense and running team. That's
which
not
they
what the
aren't.
Packers do.
No. They're not prepared for that.
Their O-line isn't good enough at run blocking for that. Their running backs aren't good enough to handle that kind of workload. As good as Aaron Jones look and as much as I like Ty Montgomery. Anyway, we were still doing the intro. Hi, I'm Bradley. Hey. This is episode 30 of the Rollout Show. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the theme song that I'm definitely going to edit in front of this. It's real good. Thanks to our friend, our good buddy Tyler for doing that. I would shout out his social, but he doesn't really use social media, so I won't.
Yeah, so we won't shout him out, but just try to find him. His name's Tyler. You should be able to track him down.
Definitely should be able to track him down.
Yeah, you'll find him. Just look for any Tyler and music, and you should be fine.
Yeah, good work. What are we going to talk about today, Weston?
Well, we're going to talk a lot of NBA because it's the start of basketball season. Whoop! And we're going to talk a little MLB playoff updates because we're in the heart of October. That's right. We're getting ready for the World Series. That's what the Cubs fans were doing last night.
Ouch.
Spoiler alert. Anyway.
It's not really a spoiler. I don't think you're... All right, you brought us here. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I'm very against spoilers, okay? When Herm Edwards on Mike and Mike dropped a Game of Thrones spoiler, that's not okay. You cannot do that. You got to give the people some warning. But sporting events, I think sporting events you're allowed to spoil. What do you... how many people are legitimately... if you're a diehard fan of a team and you miss the game, how many people are going to go back and watch the game and not check the score?
See, I've heard a couple of people at work that were Yankee fans, and they're like, yeah, the Yankees game, I recorded it, so I'm watching it after work because it was going on while we were at work.
But they weren't checking the score?
The one guy did, the other guy didn't.
I don't believe that for a second. There's no way.
At least that's what he said, because the one guy's like, the Yankees won, but I'm going to go back and watch it. They're like, why are you going back and watch it? You spoiled it. He's like, yeah, but I want to see how it happened.
Well, okay. I get. Like, I won't lie. I've gone back and watched Georgia games before because, like, I was busy doing something. I checked the score. Oh, crap. I just did this, actually. We beat Mississippi State 37-3, and Mississippi State was supposed to be really good. Let me go watch the game.
Let me go watch Jake Fromm just light it up.
God, I don't want to talk about Jake Fromm.
Jake Fromm.
Kirby, put Eason in.
Jake Fromm, the future Heisman winner.
Jake Fromm he's fine, man. He's fine. He's a true freshman.
He's a great game manager.
His issue, since we're here, is he makes like pre-snap reads before he hikes the ball, which for a true freshman, that's incredible. He has great football IQ. The problem is, like 4 times a game, he'll guess wrong and he'll just throw it to a defender. And he's gotten lucky. Like 3 or 4 times when Georgia played Tennessee, it should have been picked off, and I think he only ended up with 1 pick. But he'll see what he thinks is man-to-man, he'll hike it, and he'll just throw it, and then it'll get picked. So he does that a lot. I wish he'd stop.
But he's getting W's.
And he's super accurate when he has time, and the receivers are wide open, so that's good.
I mean, hey, at least you don't miss the open throws, right? That's one bonus.
And in college, sometimes it's good to not have a super strong arm because your receivers aren't amazing like they are in the NFL, so they don't all have good hands. So sometimes a good catchable ball is an important thing.
As you have to throw a catchable ball, otherwise what's the point?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Just two
nice sidetrack.
Completely unnecessary tangents to start the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks again for joining us. We're back after a little bit of a week off, and now we're right in the heart of NBA season. So if you want to just go right into it, let's start with our predictions.
All right. So I figured what we could do here. And the NBA season already started. Unfortunately, we had to miss last week. We apologize for that. Weston had some family stuff to go take care of. But we're back. And so the NBA season. I would like for us to pick MVP, Rookie of the Year, first team All-NBA, and then the top 4 teams at the end of the playoffs. So the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals, the Finals, and then the champion. So let's start with the Rookie of the Year, the least exciting of all the awards. Although the Rookie Year this year is kind of exciting.
It's stacked. It's a stacked field.
So some possible contenders: Lonzo Ball, his first game.
Ouch.
Patrick Beverley made him look like a rookie, which is to be expected. His shot was a little off, but I think he went 1 for 6, and he took 3 threes and made one of them or something.
Yeah, I know he finished with like 3 points.
Ben Simmons looked real good. He almost had a triple-double, I think. He's real good. We got Jaylen Brown. We got
Markelle Fultz. And Jason Tatum, not Jaylen Brown.
What? Oh, Jaylen Brown was their rookie last year. Sorry. Jason Tatum, my bad.
It's okay.
Especially with the
similar
fall of
names.
Gordon Hayward. Yeah. Okay. And then Josh Jackson with the Suns. Dennis Smith Jr. with the Mavs. And if
Dylan Brooks with the Grizzlies.
If you're wondering, by the way, I don't think the NFL is like this, but in the NBA, if you are a player who wasn't able to play in a regular season game in your actual rookie year, you are still considered a rookie your second year, which is why even though last season was technically Joel Embiid's 3rd year in the league, he qualified as a rookie for the Rookie of the Year award because it was his first time actually playing in games.
Which is what's happening with Ben Simmons this year, and how Blake Griffin won Rookie of the Year in technically his 2nd season in the league, but it was his first year actually playing.
Yeah, so it's an interesting difference between sports. I'll just say it, Ben Simmons. He looked real good. So, yeah, I think being away from Ben Simmons for a year, we all sort of got enamored by Fultz and by Jason Tatum and Josh Jackson. And Lonzo, of course, because the Ball family is quite prevalent
Always in the
these
headlines.
days. We forgot that a lot of scouts last season were saying, and 2 seasons ago, were saying that Ben Simmons was the best prospect since LeBron James. Like, that's a thing that was coming out of people's mouths regularly.
Right.
So he's 6'10", 6'11". He's got a great handle. He can shoot. He can pass. He has great vision. He looked real good, and I'm going to go with Ben Simmons. I think he's for real. I think if Embiid can stay healthy, that team can easily make the playoffs.
See, I kind of agree with you on that, and I think Ben Simmons is going to be great, but he is not my pick for Rookie of the Year. My pick,
fine.
I mean, he looks spectacular, but
Going Lonzo.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going with the better point guard right now.
Ouch.
Dennis Smith Jr.
I like that pick.
I think he's just going into a great situation for him. That's such a veteran team, and they're really not going to ask him to do too much, and they're just going to ask him to play his game, develop, learn how to be a professional by some of the best professionals we've ever seen with Dirk and Harrison Barnes and Wesley Matthews. It's a big mix of talent there who can really help usher him into the league, and I just think it's just the perfect situation for him, and I think he's going to have a big year.
So I like that pick a lot, kind of because I think by halfway through the season they may be out of the playoff hunt, just because the West is
just
stupid.
Dirty.
It's so dumb. And actually, I want to touch on this in just a second about what Adam Silver said about the playoff format. Remind me.
I'll remind you.
But
hey, remember to touch on what Adam Silver said about the playoff format.
I hate you. So halfway through the season, the Mavs have a good chance to not be in it. And then, Dennis Smith Jr., they just may give him the ball and say, let it ride.
Yeah.
And then volume may propel him to that award. I worry that he won't get enough work to win the award, but I think it's a good pick. A popular choice right now is Lonzo. I believe we are on the same page about Lonzo and that neither one of us thinks he can be a superstar. Just doesn't have the athleticism. Like, he got made to look a fool by Patrick Beverley, who admittedly is one of the best defensive point guards in the league, but Patrick Beverley is closer to average
than he is above average.
Right, just because it's a point guard dominated league right now. Almost every team has a great point guard these days, or at least an above average point guard. And with that comes athleticism, and with athleticism comes defense. So unless you're playing, I was going to say the Rockets, but Chris Paul is a pretty good defensive point guard, unless he gets James Harden on him. So really the Celtics, that's the only team I could think of that has a good point guard that he may be able to match up with.
Because, even look at De'Aaron Fox made him look like a fool.
That was the eye opener. Like, I wasn't huge on Lonzo. I really liked his floor vision. But that playoff game, like, De'Aaron Fox, who is closer to NBA athleticism than Lonzo Ball is, made him look soft and weak and bad.
And De'Aaron Fox isn't even starting on his team. Like, that just goes to show you. And I think a lot of the people were really picking Lonzo because, for one, he's always out there. His dad's always out there.
He's in the public eye, and he's a Laker.
And he's a Laker, of course, because everybody's like, it's a lot of people. Some of those people probably didn't even really watch Lonzo play, but a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Lonzo Ball for Rookie of the Year. Like, if you did a poll or something, it's like, oh yeah, I know that guy's name.
He's recognizable, which good on that family for getting his name recognizable. That's a lot of it. And sometimes that can win you awards.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if anything, Dennis Smith Jr. could not win the award because his name isn't as recognizable as Ben Simmons or as Lonzo, or even Fultz for that matter, the number 1 overall pick, who hasn't looked amazing so far this preseason. Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he's going to just burst onto the scene, be amazing as a rookie. I think it's going to take
guys don't.
Fultz a little bit of time. Right.
That's
there's not too many Malcolm Brogdons and, Sarics and people like that.
That's the thing people forget. Like, it's tough as a rookie to come in and just immediately be great. You can make an impact, sort of like Jaylen Brown did for the Celtics last year. But it's tough when you still have a 19-year-old's body to come in and play with grown men. It's tough.
And especially with different teams, because it's like you had Ben Simmons, who was at LSU, and then you had Fultz, who was at Washington, and neither of those teams even made March Madness. So it's kind of they
didn't really play tough competition. And
no.
So, all right, MVP. I'm clear cut on this one. I am incredibly confident, and I think this team could make a run at the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think I know who you're going for.
Let's say it on the count of 3. We got to say his full name, though.
Full name? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're on the same page.
We're on the same page.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Tony Snell.
Oh.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Tony Snell!
All right.
You're the MVP! Woo! All right. Yeah, Giannis. He's stupid good, man.
The Greek freak, man.
If you checked out my article on the rolloutsports.com, that's the rolloutsports.com. We did the top 30 players in the NBA. Giannis cracked the list at number 7. May not be high enough.
Yeah, I told you.
He's great. He's just great. Like, he needs to keep working on his jump shot, and it's getting better. Every season it's getting better, but Giannis is special, man. I think, because LeBron is getting older. LeBron is one of the greatest to ever do it, top 2. And people have always said, well, when LeBron retires or when LeBron declines, who's going to be the heir apparent? And we've always said the 2 names that have always come up have been KD and Anthony Davis. And I think the correct answer is Giannis.
It's Giannis.
He's ascending. He's amazing.
And he just does everything well, and his I guess lesser quality is his jump shot, but it's getting better and better. But he can do so many things on the floor that he dropped 38 and 14 on opening night.
He's a 7-footer who's listed as a shooting guard and a power forward. Like,
he can play every position on the floor and play it well.
He literally can play every position. He's one of a handful of guys. He's crazy. So yeah, we agree on Giannis. LeBron. LeBron's always going to be in the conversation
because he's the best player in the world.
He's won it so many times; it's tough for him to keep winning it. He'll be like top 3 or 4 every season.
And honestly, I think LeBron's at this stage in his career, he just cares about winning. In his team winning the finals. That's what he cares about.
To be fair, he's always cared about that. Like, the numbers he's putting up now are comparable to his MVP years, but last year was an anomaly with Westbrook and James Harden having historic seasons
is crazy.
But when a guy like Steph Curry goes from a pretty good player to, oh my gosh, are we watching the best shooter of all time? Like, that jump helps propel him to the MVP award. When LeBron goes from, I averaged 27, 10, and 8 again this season, my career average, it's like, well, congratulations, LeBron.
Congratulations, you're still really, really good.
Well, it's less dramatic and
I feel
I don't want to say impressive, because it is impressive, but it's less impressive.
And I feel like a lot of people don't want to just be like, well, we can't just hand the award to LeBron every year, because a lot of people even get upset when you're just like, and you have to remember LeBron James in the MVP conversation. You'll get people go, LeBron James.
He wins it every year.
Yeah.
And he should win it every year.
Yeah, because he's the most valuable player in the NBA.
He's also probably the most underpaid player in the NBA.
Because, you could pretty much pay him anything and he'd be worth it. So
yeah. Okay, we agree there. Do you want to do all NBA team or playoffs first?
Let's go all NBA team while we're here.
Who you got?
All right. So for my guards, it's gonna be tough. Westbrook and Harden.
Okay. Please continue.
Okay. So forward spot, I have Giannis and KD.
Okay. And at the 5?
And at the 5, I'm going big here. Going big. He's going to stay healthy. It's Joel Embiid. Boom. There's my 5.
So, we agree on 4 or 5.
Okay.
as you can see, Weston and I are pretty simpatico when it comes to sports.
That's right.
Boom,
right here.
Oh yeah. I mean, you did leave out one important player, but
I think I know that one important player you're talking about.
Forwards, Giannis is going to win MVP. Well, actually, no, you're wrong. I lied. KD is going to be second team.
See, that was the one I was really debating, was because it was
KD's going to be second team because LeBron's going to be first team.
That's where it was the tough decision. It's like, well, I know Giannis. I'm picking Giannis to win MVP, so he's going to be first team, and it's like it's either LeBron or KD. And my thing is, I don't know if LeBron may take a couple minutes more off here and there than he has in the past, is what I'm thinking. So I don't know.
I will not disrespect LeBron. LeBron is first team.
Oh, I 100%
and he always
agree.
will be. Like, yes, there are three. If we didn't have to have a center position, sort of like the All-Star game, it would be KD, Giannis, and LeBron.
Oh, 100%.
But I think KD's numbers are going to come back a little bit. He sort of, yes, he was incredibly unselfish with the Warriors, but they did let him be the number one guy. I think they're going to go back to Steph a little bit this season. And that's why I have Steph in. I have Steph and Harden.
You have Stephen Curry? It was too easy. I had to. You gonna take a timeout? You going to the penalty box? You need to take a breath? Recollect your thoughts?
Anyway, Steph and Harden. I love Westbrook. Westbrook isn't a super efficient player. He only had so amazing numbers last year because of his usage, and his usage is going to go down. So Westbrook will be second team. Giannis and LeBron, KD will be second team, unfortunately. I think his numbers are going to come back to earth a little bit because they're going to start deferring more to Steph. And center, I like where your head's at. Like, I was going to say Gobert because he's going to have to
because he's the guy on the team now.
Well, he's going to have to take more of the load, but I'm not 100% sure he can do it. I was thinking Boogie if New Orleans can finally get their act together, but I don't think they'll be able to. I mean, last year they considered Anthony Davis a center, and
he's a power forward.
And the NBA media loves Anthony Davis, but yeah, give me Embiid. That's a fun choice.
I mean, Embiid,
like
he's special, man. I mean, if he can actually stay healthy, even if he doesn't play every single game, but if he can play the majority of the season, because his talent is special. And we got to see the 31 game sample size last season, and he's ridiculous.
Yeah, give me Embiid. So we're close there.
Close, yeah.
3 out of 5 the same.
And honestly, everything you said I could see happening, because I do think Golden State is going to defer more to Steph now, because they wanted KD to make a splash since he came over there and prove he made the right decision. So I agree with that, but I think it is going to revert more back to Steph this year.
And I mean, first team, the all-NBA teams are, you could mix and match them.
Gordon Hayward got left off last year. I mean,
so did Paul George.
And
that's stupid.
And your second team choices are probably going to be Kawhi, Kevin Durant, or LeBron James. 2 of those 3. And Giannis, if he's not as good as we think he is. I mean, it's just insane.
I actually just the other day heard Bob Ryan complaining about the NBA today and how nobody plays in the low post. Where are the Kevin McHale's of the world? The NBA is just so
His name's
ugly.
Dwight Howard.
The NBA is so ugly these days. When have we ever had an era quite like this? Where we have maybe 10 guys who are all-time greats. Like Steph, all-time great. KD, all-time great. LeBron, of course, all-time great. Kawhi will be an all-time great. And this is pending health for the younger guys, of course. And looking at their career trajectories, occasionally players fall off a cliff. I don't expect that to happen. Giannis. I mean, James Harden. Chris Paul.
Chris Paul's a Hall of Famer.
Chris Paul is an all-time great. There's so many all-timers playing right now. It's crazy. I think in 20 years when we look back at this era, people are going to be upset that they took it for granted because it's a great time to love basketball.
I mean, and just think about how much quality there is throughout the league. I mean, there's like, we always bring him up. Me and you are both very high on Mike Conley, and he can never, I mean,
Can't even make an
he
all-star
can't make an all-star team. I mean, same with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is special.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
We ranked him 9th in our top 30.
And he can't crack an all-star team.
9th, and he can't make an let alone all NBA team. He can't make an all-star team, which is absurd because he's super underrated, and we love you, Dame.
Yeah.
If you want to come on the show, you're more than welcome.
Anytime. Just hit us up.
Yeah, it's special right now. And I think that's part of the reason why the NBA is growing so quickly in popularity, and other sports are kind of coming back a little bit. Although the MLB has a lot of great young players too. But the NFL in particular, primarily at the quarterback position, the talent seems to be dropping every year.
I mean, especially this season.
And when you lose guys to injury, like Aaron Rodgers, like, yes, Derek Carr's playing, but I don't think he's himself.
And you have Andrew Luck, who hasn't played all season.
Jameis Winston, Mariota can't stay healthy. Like, and Carr and Jameis and Mariota and Andrew Luck a little bit need to be the next echelon of quarterbacks, because Big Ben has clearly fell off a cliff. Eli's not the same. Carson Palmer's not the same. Tom Brady's still great. He's not the same.
He's not the same.
If you watch him this year, he looks way worse. Even last year in the Super Bowl, he didn't play well. He got lucky.
And then Drew Brees, I mean, he's starting to fall back a little bit.
Yeah. Phillip Rivers isn't looking quite as good.
Phillip Rivers can just never win, but yeah.
But even watching him, he doesn't put as much zip on the ball. Like, these are the guys who are being phased out of the league. And I remember when, like, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were in their late 20s, they were all-timers, and we were talking about, oh, who's better, Peyton or Tom, and they kept meeting in the playoffs every year, and one would knock the other out. Like, we don't have quarterbacks that great right now in the NFL, and I think that's part of the reason the ratings are dropping. Obviously, there are some other reasons too, but the football is just not as... The quarterback play is not quite as good, which is why we should appreciate basketball so much more, just because of the incredible level of play.
Exactly. And it's just, it just hasn't looked as good on the field, like NFL, exactly what you're saying. And then you have, I mean, last week, it ended up being a good game, but Monday Night Football had the potential to be Jacoby Brissett versus Matt Castle.
And Monday Night Football has turned into a joke. Like, Thursday Night Football is usually not great either. Just so happened last night's Chiefs-Raiders game was great because both teams actually played pretty well.
And there were, 6 last play of the games.
It was a great game. But there's not that many of those anymore. And a lot of it has to do with the injuries. Like, when you're putting your best players in super vulnerable positions like Aaron Rodgers was. Because when Aaron Rodgers got hit, it wasn't a dirty hit. He was
just in the air.
He got hit into the ground. All of his body weight hit his collarbone and it snapped. That's what happens. That's how bones work.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a dirty hit. That's part of football. But it being part of football is also
the reason why the product is worse.
Yes. Like, you go from Aaron Rodgers making this miraculous comeback against the Dallas Cowboys, and he's a perfection of the position, and he's zipping the ball around, and it looks real good for the NFL, and now he's hurt. He's just done.
And then you have one of the most historic teams with one of the biggest fan bases without really their entire team. Because there's a lot of great players on the Packers, but if you don't have Aaron Rodgers, then your chances are just slim.
Aaron Rodgers makes those receivers look better than they are. Like, I love Jordy. He has clearly lost a step, and he's only still really, really good because him and Aaron Rodgers have a special connection.
And they just know where each other is going to be all the time.
Devontae Adams is really good at catching back shoulder passes, and Aaron Rodgers is really good at throwing back shoulder passes. Randall Cobb's not that good, but Aaron Rodgers makes him look good. Like, I mean, that O-line's not very good. He makes them look better. He could easily be sacked 5 times a game.
He makes that D-line look a whole lot better than they are.
Well, and the offense being good makes the defense better because it gives them more rest and puts them in less horrible situations. Like, that's tough loss. Tough loss. I'm glad I didn't put money on Aaron Rodgers winning MVP. Okay, let's.
Gosh, you and Aaron Rodgers.
I love that man, dude. He's special. Like, do you not agree? He is just what in our lifetime. I've never seen a quarterback play better, and we're young. We're young. Unfortunately, like we haven't seen a lot of the sports greats play.
We didn't get to see
highlights.
Marino.
We didn't see Elway. We didn't see Montana, but we saw Peyton. We saw Tom Brady in his prime. We saw Brett Favre. Like we saw
Jay Cutler.
Oh my God, I hate you. But that like, have you ever seen a quarterback as fun to watch as Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, he's really fun to watch. Yes, I will agree with you there. The only other guy I'd say is probably
Kurt Warner. Oh, Kurt Warner. Just come over here and let me give you a smooch, Kurt Warner. Were you going to say Kurt Warner?
I was actually going to say Michael Vick, but okay. Whatever.
That's good.
I mean, Michael Vick is special too, so.
Yeah. Okay. But I actually like that answer. If you had said Kurt Warner, I would have taken.
You probably would have punched me in the face or something.
I wouldn't have punched you, but I would have said, how's Kurt Warner more fun to watch than a guy like Peyton?
I mean, but Kurt Warner was really, really fun to watch.
He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not on quite the same level as Tom and Peyton and Aaron Rodgers, I don't think. But I like Mike Vick. Good answer. I think Mike Vick should be a Hall of Famer too, for that matter. Changed the position. Did something that had never been done before to quite the level he did it. Plus, beautiful deep ball. Okay. Somehow we always end up talking about football. Playoffs. I'll go first.
Okay.
The East. The Cavs, of course.
Okay.
And with Gordon Hayward going down, the Wizards didn't really do anything to make themselves get better. Give me the Bucks.
You're going Bucks. Okay.
Bucks,
I was thinking you were going Raptors.
No. Kyle Lowry. This is, and I wrote this on the piece at the rolloutsports.com. If you want to check out, Kyle Lowry was ranked somewhere. I don't remember quite where. That team's not good in the playoffs. Kyle Lowry can't play in the playoffs. He's bad.
He hasn't had success.
Another year of development for Michael Brogdon, for Thon Maker. If Giannis is going to have the year we think he's going to have.
And I know we made a joke about it earlier, but Tony Snell's a good player in his own right, too. I mean, he is. He's a good player. He's a good complementary player on a team.
Sure. They have a great coach.
You got Jason Terry coming off the bench, older than Jason Kidd, but still playing ball.
Give me the Bucks. I think the Cavs are going to end up winning and going to the finals. But the Celtics losing Gordon Hayward, that team will probably still be. It could easily be the 2 seed still, just because Kyrie's that good, and Brad Stevens is that good of a coach. But losing Gordon Hayward is huge. They gave up a lot to get him. They didn't trade for him, obviously, but they had to get rid of Avery Bradley. Kelly Olynyk isn't there anymore because they wanted to make sure they had space.
Jerebko.
Yeah, even though they didn't trade for Gordon Hayward, they had to clear a lot of space for him. And now he's gone for the whole season, I would presume.
His agent basically said it's the entire season because that's one of those injuries that, I mean, you have to work really hard to come back from.
Well, and a lot of it's mental, right? Even when Paul George came back from his crazy broken leg injury, which was similar. If you don't know, by the way, Gordon Hayward broke his ankle, and it was real
gruesome.
gross.
It was gruesome.
If you're squeamish, I wouldn't recommend watching it because his foot is turned the wrong direction. But it was a weird play too. It seemed so routine, and his ankle just gave out on him.
It's not good, and
so a lot of it's mental and trusting that ankle again.
And another thing is Paul George came back for the last 3 games of that season, but he broke his in the off season.
Right,
this is the
with
beginning
Team
of the
USA
year
basketball. Yeah,
because it was just an exhibition game. So I mean, he had more time to recover.
Yeah, if I was Gordon Hayward, I'd be worried about being ready to play next season.
Right,
because even when Paul George came back, he wasn't quite himself for a good couple months playing basketball again until he got back to his all-NBA levels. So yeah, give me the Bucks. Who you got in the East?
I'm also going Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Of course.
But honestly, I'm going to go a little different direction here. Give me the Wizards.
Okay.
I think they're going to take the next step. They kept the core together. Now, it doesn't seem like they're always the best of friends. John Wall and Bradley Beal don't always seem to get along. And then John Wall had said some bad things about Otto Porter potentially. But I think, they're all committed to winning and they're all committed to being there. So I think they're going to take the next step. I'm not the biggest fan of Scott Brooks as a coach, but he has been there multiple times.
Can I ask a question?
What's up?
So the Wizards, I think we would both agree, their weaknesses last week were their depth and their big men are getting older and they're not as good anymore. How did they address that?
They traded for Tim Frazier to be a backup point guard. So, that helps them. Because really their main issue was pretty much a backup point guard because they had nobody to back up John Wall.
Was playing every minute of the game.
Yeah, and it was ridiculous. So I think they're going to try to move that around a little bit, use Otto Porter in a few different ways. And then Markieff Morris, he's not playing yet, but he's coming back, getting in shape and everything. And honestly, I think they're going to swing another trade in the middle of the season to do basically what they did last year with Bogdanovich, is basically just go out and get a shooter.
I would love for them to somehow get a hold of Boogie.
That would be amazing.
That would be,
because I could see that happening too. Because
and him and John Wall are still good friends, right?
Oh yeah.
I would love for them to be able to swing that trade. I have no idea what they would have to give up. Probably Otto Porter, and I don't know if I would want to do that. Well,
he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league last season. That'd be really tough to do.
Well, and I would flip Otto Porter for Boogie, but that trade's not going to happen. You're going to have to package Otto Porter with something else. And when you're so limited on depth as it is.
And then you have to also match up the money. And then there's the fact that Boogie's a free agent at the end of the year.
Otto Porter's getting paid, right? He just signed a deal.
He signed.
So the money would probably be able to work out.
Well, because the Pelicans, they don't really have a ton of flexibility either.
Right, but how much is Boogie making?
Boogie's not making that much, but Anthony Davis is making a ton, and so is Drew Holiday now. Because they're already over the cap. But that's the thing. They can re-sign Boogie using his bird rights, but they can't. I don't know if they can actually bring somebody else in. Would be the issue.
I would love to see the trade happen.
I would
I'll
too.
just leave it at that.
Because I really don't think Boogie is committed there long term. He kind of says he is, but I just don't.
Well, it's one of those things you just kind of say.
You have to say, because you can't just go up there and just be like, I don't know if I really like New Orleans or not, but I'm here this year.
Derrick Rose did that. It didn't really work out well for him.
No, it's... usually when Derrick Rose says something like that, it doesn't work out well.
I'm not really worried about this season with the Bulls. I'm more worried about next season's free agency. What are you doing, man? You idiot. I think
2 years away.
I think he could be pretty good with the Cavs, though. He wasn't horrible with the Knicks last year.
Oh, no. I think Derrick Rose is a great addition because he's a placeholder for when Isaiah Thomas comes back. And then also that second unit, running through Derrick Rose and potentially D Wade or J.R. Smith. And Kyle Korver just on there behind the arc. That's crazy.
Well, as of right now, the second unit's going to be D Rose, J.R., Kyle Korver, Channing Frye, and Tristan Thompson.
That's crazy.
That's a good five.
That's a starting five on a mediocre team.
That's a starting five on a team that has a chance to make the playoffs in the East.
That's seriously it. That's why we're both picking the Cavs. It's just as long as everybody stays healthy and Isaiah Thomas comes back and is similar to what he was last year, even if he is just a step below. That's ridiculous. And then not to mention you have LeBron James and also you have Kevin Love, who's probably going to take more of a role in the offense.
We both expect Kevin Love to do big things this year. And I hope we're right.
I really hope we're right because we've seen it before.
He sacrificed a lot to go to that Cavs team and win a ring, which you like to see.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously he didn't really sacrifice financially. They took care of him. But his legacy-wise, he was on pace to be an all-timer. He was considered a top 10 guy in the league in Minnesota, and he sacrificed a lot of that and a lot of his legacy to come to Cleveland and help LeBron win a ring. So for that, I would like to see him get rewarded, and I hope he still has it. I think he does.
Oh, I think he does too. There's a reason why Denver and Phoenix seem to try to trade for him every offseason. Literally.
Because we've seen him do it before. Okay, West. The West is a little tougher just because the West got stacked this. If you thought the West was good before,
oh my goodness.
God. Let's name the teams that got better this season in the West.
Sacramento.
Sacramento. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
They got a lot better.
I mean, the Lakers, for that matter, probably got a little bit better.
Suns.
Suns got better. But
Nuggets.
Yeah. Well,
Paul Millsap.
Yeah. The Nuggets. The Rockets. The Thunder. Oh my gosh. I was thinking of another. Oh, the Minnesota. Minnesota, because they added Jimmy Butler. I mean, that's 7 teams. There's only 15 teams in the West. And those 7 all added pieces to get better.
And we're probably either missing a couple of people or forgetting somebody.
I'm
honestly.
sure we are.
Because I can only really think of 2 teams I would say really took a step backwards, and that's the Clippers and the Jazz.
And the Spurs, I think.
Yeah, I think the Spurs took like a small step backwards, but I mean, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, they're still relying a lot on age, so
I mean,
that never helps. And Kawhi seems like his injury may linger a bit because he hasn't played so far this season.
And we'll see what Rudy Gay has left. I mean, there's not too many people that are super high on Rudy Gay, but I mean, he can still play some basketball.
Yeah. He should be a good addition for that team. They really needed to get a point guard this offseason, and they weren't able to do it. It's kind of why I was hoping, they'd find a way to get Mike Conley.
Not happening,
They
man.
just signed Aldridge. Now flip Aldridge for Conley. Done. How mad would you be?
You have no idea how mad I would be. Like, are you serious? Oh my gosh. We're really going to shore up the power forward / backup center position behind Marc Gasol.
Memphis does some weird things sometimes.
Yeah, trading Mo Spates and a first rounder for, I don't even remember who else came back in that trade. That was a little, that was a different, actually, no, wait. No, it's the same front office. We got that front office back. And then we're changing direction, okay?
Yeah, okay.
We're changing direction. We're moving, less grit and grind, more a little fast pace. That's why we let the grit and grind guys go.
Okay. So Warriors, Rockets, in my opinion. Really in the West, it's a 3-team race for that second spot, I think. The Rockets, the Thunder, and the Spurs.
Right.
We already said we think the Spurs are going to take a slight step back. And the Thunder, they have a great big 3 now with Melo, Westbrook, and Paul George. But I think, and we saw it in Miami, like it usually takes great players some time to learn how to play together. In Golden State, it only worked because they're inherently unselfish. Whereas in their style of basketball, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And it also worked because you had some guys who were also, you're not sure if they were going to amount to a whole heck of a lot, ended up becoming stars. I mean, because Draymond Green, there was a reason he was a second-round pick.
I'm talking about just last season itself.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about how they built the Warriors. I'm talking about that team.
Last season, they were very unselfish,
in general, that team is very unselfish, where how many teams would a back-to-back MVP coming off one of the greatest seasons any player has ever had take like a shots cut? Like that usually doesn't happen, but Steph Curry let KD be the number 1 guy. That doesn't happen everywhere. Like the only other time we've really seen superstars come together in recent years was with the Heat, and it took them a season to figure it out.
It did take them a season,
and when you have Russell Westbrook, who is a selfish player, and Paul George, who's a selfish player, and
Carmelo Anthony,
who's a selfish player, like we'll see how it works out. I think it's going to take them a season. So give me the Rockets, Warriors win, and then Warriors beat the Cavs for the title for their 4th straight meeting. God, Adam Silver, please do something about this. Like I love great basketball. The Warriors, and this will all correct itself because honestly, Klay Thompson's deal comes up soon. I think he's going to want to try and be a number 1. I think he thinks he can be a number 1. And he might be right. So I think Klay Thompson's going to leave. He's going to have his rings. He's going to have his money. He's going to want to be the guy.
Right.
So I think he'll be gone. And when he leaves, other teams will be able to compete with the Warriors a little bit better. But yeah, the Warriors are bad for basketball right now.
They really are.
As fun as they are to watch, they're bad for basketball. The fact that we know, barring injury, we know with 100% certainty. Let's just say
it's going to be Cavs and Warriors again.
It's going to be Cavs Warriors for the 4th year in a row. At least like 98% certainty. Because the Rockets did look impressive. The Rockets beat the Warriors in the season opener and looked pretty good doing it. But it's a regular season game in basketball. Means only slightly more than a regular season game in baseball. So
pretty much true, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a repeat again, a 4-peat.
The only thing that could potentially, outside of injuries, that would stand in Golden State's way is if one of the additions kind of comes in there and just wrecks the entire situation, like Swaggy P. Not to just point out,
Swaggy P went 6 for 7 on 3-pointers in their opener.
Hey, I mean it's crazy, but I mean,
man?
That's
when they can take guys like that are jokes, like Swaggy P.
He did have a good year last year, though. Give him some credit. He had a good year last year.
JaVale McGee and Zaza, these guys who, well, not Zaza.
Zaza, his name's Dirtbag, but yeah, Zaza.
I agree. These guys that are jokes and they turn them into productive players. Like, what are you gonna do? There's nothing you can do. If Swaggy P's going to hit 6 of 7 on 3-pointers, because you can't guard everybody, is the problem.
Well, Swaggy P's going to be open every darn time.
Either you're going to, and if he's hitting his threes, you're going to lose. So either you double Kevin Durant and Swaggy P's wide open, or you leave Kevin Durant on one guy and he's just going to score. Like, it's tough.
I mean, it is tough, but I mean, hey, the Rockets won even with Swaggy P going 6 of 7.
They did. Kevin Durant, I don't know if you saw that game or at least the end. Basically, Kevin Durant hit the game winner, but they reviewed it and the ball was still on his fingertips. So
Rockets win.
It counts as a Rockets win. But take it for what it's worth. Like the Warriors thought they had won that game, and they were about a millisecond away from actually winning it. But yeah.
I mean, I think they're going to be really, really good. And I don't, again, it's like a 2% chance this happens. But I mean, we've seen it happen with some dominant teams before where all of a sudden just something happens and they aren't as good. Like, I don't know if Iggy takes 2 steps back this year. Something like that. I mean, because he's getting older. And, I mean, we don't expect that from a lot of guys. But, I mean, it's like the Patrick Willis syndrome. We bring him up a lot. He went from best linebacker in the league to one season to the next season he's the worst linebacker in the league.
Guys can definitely fall off a cliff. It can happen. But I will say with the Warriors, the fact that we're saying they might be worse if their 5th best player falls off a cliff just kind of shows.
Yeah, that shows they're really good.
Crazy good they are.
And another thing is, I don't expect it to be an issue, but I mean, we both think Steph is going to be more of the focal point of the offense now, and if that causes some tension between him and Kevin Durant, I don't expect it to, but I mean, we've seen stuff like that happen before.
Absolutely, we have. But generally, I think if that were to start happening, then for one, Steph and Draymond and KD are all like best friends. So that would be like seeing a lot of tension between LeBron and D Wade. You just wouldn't really expect it to linger. But if that happened, I think Steph is smart enough and good enough to defer to KD for a couple weeks. Like, though that team is good enough to work it out, I think. They're crazy to watch. They probably won't win 75 games like I was kind of hoping they'd go for this season. But
no,
it's fine.
Especially after starting 0-1.
That's what I mean. But they'll still win 68 games, be historically great metrics wise, and then get to the title and probably win in 5. So a repeat of last season.
Right. And
do you agree on my Rockets pick, though?
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Same sort of logic?
It's just the same sort of logic. I think as long as the relationship between Harden and Chris Paul works out, which so far it looks pretty good.
Well, and James Harden's been a 2 his whole life, and I mean 2 guard, not like a second option.
Yeah.
Last season was his first ever year playing point, so I don't see it being an issue him moving back to the 2.
Because I mean he's moved around pretty much his entire career. He's been mainly a 2, but I mean he was running the offense.
He doesn't care as long as he gets the ball.
Yeah, exactly. As long as he gets the ball and he can.
And Chris Paul likes to defer, so I think that's
out.
actually a pairing that works out pretty well. Yeah. Warriors win the title, of course.
That's what I'm predicting right now. I mean,
we have to do these injuries these predictions barring injuries
and other things, and then
KD tends to be sort of injury prone, so that's something to watch out for. But.
Right, and I mean, my heart would want to say the Cavs, but right now, I mean, it's really early, and if we're picking on paper, even though the Cavs' second unit is disgusting, you have to go with the Warriors.
Agreed.
I think it is going to be a long series. It's not going to be like. It may end up being Warriors in 5. I'm not predicting that.
I think a lot of that depends on how much D-Wade has left.
Right, exactly.
Because 2 years ago, D-Wade looked like he might have something left. And then last year, he didn't look very good.
I think that just whole Chicago situation was kind of doomed to start. It just wasn't a good fit there.
I would agree. If he has something left, now we're talking. But I don't know. He's old. He hasn't been really, really good basically since LeBron left the Heat. So we'll see.
And yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's not responsible for a lot of that offense right now anyway. They just added him at the end. It's like, yeah, okay, we get rid of Richard Jefferson and add D Wade. All right, cool. Good. We're done. Like, I mean, that's a trade you make every day.
Yeah. Okay. What Adam Silver said. You didn't remind me. You're a horrible person.
I mean, I did remind you. It's actually, on the podcast.
It's on the tape.
It's on the tape.
Check the tape, son. Adam Silver said they're finally considering changing the playoff format.
Wow.
To 1 through 16 instead of by conference. So what that would mean, if you're not familiar, is right now, the top 8 teams in the West make the playoffs. The top 8 teams in the East make the playoffs. Then they whittle each other down, and then the Eastern Conference champion plays the Western Conference champion. The proposed change is it just goes in order regardless of conference. So the West could have 12 teams in the playoffs, and the East could have 4. And the idea behind that is the West has been better than the East for a while now. The thought has always been that eventually it'll swing back. But it just hasn't. Even with LeBron playing in the East his whole career, the West has always been deeper and more talented than the East.
And I think part of that is because of LeBron. People just don't want to go up against him in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think that has something to do with it. So the idea would be to give teams that in the West are the 10 seed, like the Timberwolves, the Trailblazers, a team like that, a chance in the playoffs over a team like Charlotte that wins 5 fewer games and isn't really competitive and that sort of thing. Because 16 teams in the NBA make the playoffs. There's only 30 teams. So more than half of the teams in the NBA get into the playoffs. I'll ask you your opinion in a second. I really like this change if they do it. I think they would need to incorporate more cross-conference play to make it more fair, more of a round-robin style. If it was up to me, honestly, just get rid of conferences. Like, at that point, you don't need it. Especially now that for the All-Star game, they're not going to play East versus West. They're going to play the top 2 guys pick their team. Yeah. So if they're going to do this, I would like to see more cross-conference play. But I like it.
See, I like it in theory. There's just a couple of issues with it, because for one, we're already talking about there's too much travel and people need to rest, and we're trying to incorporate more off days, and you have to work out whether you're still going to keep the conferences East versus West, and then there's going to be the argument where it's like Denver ends up being the 12th seed overall because of their record, but they had to play more games against Golden State than, say, Charlotte, who's 16.
And that's why I think there need to be more cross-conference games, so it's more of a round robin. Everyone sort of... Because, I mean, you can do it if there are... I should have done the math ahead of time. There's 82 games. If you play every team twice, that's 60 games, and there's 22 more games. So you can, I don't know, you play 22
against like more like rival teams or something.
Yeah,
because there is something.
I understand your argument, but I also don't like not changing something for logistics purposes. Like, we got a lot of smart people in the NBA. We can figure out. They're already doing a better job at not having the 4 games in 5 nights, having fewer back-to-backs. We can figure out how to make road trips more efficient.
Like, that's the thing. I mean, we already have some of those things trying to be worked out, but there's still complaints about it. Because so if you get rid of it...
It's getting better, though.
It's getting better, but then if you add more of the travel into it, because if you get rid of the conferences, that's one of the things about the conferences is because you'd have the quicker games. It would be like Philly to New York. Well, that's not that bad of a trip. But if it's New York to Los Angeles, that's a lot longer trip.
And that's what I mean. Like, I don't think they're really focusing super hard on the logistics of, okay, on this road trip, we need to make the distance between cities as short as possible. We need to go from the Hawks from the Heat to Orlando to the Hawks to Charlotte, and then we come home.
Well, they do that in some cases because it's like,
but you would need to expand on that,
right? Because it's like if Golden State plays the Magic and the Heat back to back,
right,
like on their road games, because they just get the Florida trip knocked out, and then the Florida teams do a similar thing out west. You know, they'll play Golden State and Sacramento, back to back.
You would just expand on that sort of idea. I think the logistics can work. I don't want to not do a good idea for logistics reasons. Just hire some industrial engineers. They'll get it figured out. They'll get it figured out.
Just another thing is also.
But don't you want to see LeBron play the Rockets, man? Because that's a matchup we'll never get to see in the playoffs. Like,
hey, just wait.
That's
Rockets can shock some people.
Even more than the West not getting their due, if you want to put it that way, like really good teams in the West not getting their chance. There's just matchups in the playoffs that you would never get to see otherwise. Wouldn't you love to see the Bucks against the Thunder? Like, these are matchups that would be impossible to see in the playoffs, and it would be entertaining. I think
it would be entertaining, and that's why I'm with you in theory. It's just it's a lot to work out because you also don't.
That's why you're not doing it tomorrow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be like a long range. Yeah.
All he said was they're thinking about it. They're considering,
which is good. Which I'm glad they're thinking about it. And then there's also the whole case that there might be expansion as well in the NBA because I mean there's eventually gonna be a team back in Seattle. I mean, that's pretty much a given. We'll just see whether it's a different team moving, which I don't really see happening because all the NBA teams are making a lot of money, or what happens with that. But I like that they're thinking about it. And
they're putting a WNBA team in Vegas.
Okay.
I wonder if that's sort of a primer to see how that goes, to see if they can put an NBA team in
I think
Vegas.
It really is. I think they wouldn't mind having another team potentially in Canada or Mexico City, and then also Seattle area.
But these are sort of the issues with conferences, though. Like, if you're going to have an expansion team, the two obvious options are Seattle and Vegas. Those are both West.
Oh, it's okay. That's easy. That's easy. I know how to fix that really simple. You just move Memphis to the Eastern Conference since they're east of the Mississippi anyway.
That would make a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Make a fair point.
I mean, that would...
Yeah, I guess.
And I mean, I wouldn't hate that because Mike Conley would finally be an all-star.
He'd be like the third best guard in the East.
Still, he'd be an all-star.
He's like that. I know. He's like the 8th best guard in the West. He'd be like the 3rd best guard.
And in a different era, he would be like the 2nd best guard in the NBA or something.
He's real good. We love Mike Conley.
We really do like Mike Conley.
We ranked him somewhere in the teens. I don't quite remember. Check it out on TheRollOutSports.com.
But see, again, I'm with you in theory. It's a lot to work out. And then some things I wouldn't like seeing is if it ends up being... Because... the media markets do play a factor in this. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be, but you wouldn't want to always see just two California teams potentially meeting in the finals every single year, because there has the potential for that to happen if the Lakers like come back and Golden State's still good or something, and you always have Lakers and Golden State.
But wouldn't that just be like if the Mets played the Yankees?
Well, yeah,
see that can happen if
but it's
Jets
different.
Played the Giants, like that's sort
in the
of
Super
thing.
Bowl. That doesn't really like happen though. I mean,
well,
that
so why
once,
would this happen?
Because that has a more realistic. Because
what's wrong with the? You don't think a Clippers-Lakers playoff series would be entertaining?
No, not at all. Not really from a media perspective, because Los Angeles is predominantly a Laker town and still is.
I think that'd be very entertaining.
It'd be entertaining to watch for like the casual fan, yes, but like
Did you just call me a casual fan? How dare you?
For the fans that enjoy basketball that don't have really
rooting interest, root against Lonzo Ball.
Sure, whatever. I mean, because it's not like either me or you grew up in Boston or something, and our fathers were huge Celtics fans, and our grandfathers or something like that.
We're not diehard fans of specific NBA teams.
Right. It's like different, like, because I mean, you have Georgia that you're just a diehard fan, and it means more to you than other teams.
Yes,
like,
I would agree with that.
Neither of us has that with basketball. We really just enjoy the league.
We love
as a
the
whole.
sport, yeah. And we love great players.
Exactly, because basketball, it's more about the players, whereas like other sports like baseball and especially college football, it's more about the particular team or institution. So, I mean, for that reason, maybe it would work in basketball, because there's also the potential for this to happen if baseball expands. They may do away with the National League and the American League, but there's also a lot to work out with that as well.
That has a lot to work out, because there's different rules for the two different
exactly.
leagues.
So
like,
I mean,
that's even more. If you think it's weird for the NBA and a logistics thing and stuff to work out, that I've always found that so strange in baseball. Baseball's such a weird sport.
That's why
dude.
I love it, though. It's so awesome.
It's the same sport. Why are there two different rules for the different conferences? That would be like if the SEC had different rules than the Big Ten.
That's also weird. It's kind of an indication of how old baseball is, though, because back in the day, there was the National League and the American League, and there are two separate league offices. There are two separate umpires, and which in that case there were different strike zones, because for like one thing, the American League umpires in general would call a higher strike back in the day than the National League umpires would. So that would be why you would see kind of the difference between how the Dodgers would pitch versus the Yankees, because the Dodgers, it was all like drop and drive, and you'd have Sandy Koufax throwing like low curveballs and just striking a ton of people out. Whereas like the Yankees, you know, it'd be more like a high fastball, just throwing heat and everything right up and in. Just, you know, just a little historical perspective for you.
So, but they did it the same way, where it was two different league offices, but they like collaborated on a World Series.
Right,
like
exactly. So it was kind of like how it used to be with the Super Bowl, because like NFC and AFC used to be the same thing, and that's how like the Jets was the Super Bowl where it was Namath, because that was the first Super Bowl like the AFC won, I believe. There's the other conference, because it was Broadway Joe making the guarantee, and they beat Unitas and the Colts, which nobody expected them to do or something. For some historical perspective, 69 Jets.
NFC, they didn't have different league offices?
They had two different conferences, because it was like the NFL versus like the American, and the Jets were in like the American. We'll have to look up some history.
The NFL...
And then they merged shortly thereafter, the 69 Jets.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
I'll have to touch up on my history, but I'm pretty sure it was Unitas versus Joe Namath, and nobody thought the Jets had a chance, but then the 69 Jets won, and it was Joe Namath sitting back in a beach chair, like guaranteeing they were going to win, and then they
AFL?
did. Yeah, it was the AFL,
they
NFL.
Participated in the Super Bowl?
They did. I think back then they just called it like the NFL Championship, or like the championship. But that's what it was. It was the AFL and NFL.
I thought that
and
was
the NFL
before
was
69
superior.
where they started doing that. Oh my goodness. Okay. No, I
Some
guess.
historical perspective there.
Okay, well, what a horrible segment.
Wow. I'm just throwing some history
No, well,
at
it's
you.
just like we're throwing history out that we're not 100% sure of, but we're just throwing it out there.
That's
anyway.
right. Just recklessly throwing it out there.
Oh my gosh,
They were in the AFL, the American Football League, and yeah, it was not the 69 Jets. I'm wrong. It was a different Jets roster. I'm
Was
wrong
it
on the year.
earlier?
I think it was earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Anyway, because I was gonna say we're on Super Bowl, what, 50,
52?
52. The merger happened in 75, right? So they started the Super Bowl before the merger. I'm right about the merger being 75, right? I think I'm right on that.
I think you are, because I think they still called it the Super Bowl, but it was
The NFL AFL merger. Wait. This is the worst segment we've ever done.
all right.
What is 1970?
1970? Okay.
Okay. God, this was horrible. Okay, anyway.
It was known as the AFL NFL World Championship game, and the Packers won the first two, with Lombardi. They defeated the Chiefs and the Raiders of the AFL. And the Packers were in the NFL, which kind of set the stage for like the NFC AFC.
That's interesting. So they ended up calling that the Super Bowl though, because the Packers won the first two Super Bowls.
Right.
And we're on Super Bowl 52. And if the merger was in 1970, that's only 47 years. So 5 years before the merger would have been the championship game, which they ended up calling the Super Bowl. Okay, I think we got it figured out.
I think, yes.
Okay. Thank you for coming with us on that journey, anyone who's still listening to this nonsense.
After everyone else who's logged off. So, speaking of logging off and ending the show,
I was going to say, Weston, can you take us on a quick trip through baseball hell?
that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Take you to baseball heaven. Anyway.
I think we're kind of low on time, so you should.
All right, I'll go quick.
Should hustle.
So really, MLB playoffs happening. Dodgers last night.
We saw the Cubs get eliminated.
That's right,
I watched
we did.
part of that game.
Bradley watched some baseball. Baseball.
I watched Clayton Kershaw.
He watched Clayton Kershaw. He saw Kike Hernandez hit his third home run of the game.
That's
Third. He's a utility infielder, an outfielder. Who's a platoon guy who doesn't hit against righties, and he hit a grand slam off of a right-handed pitcher. That's what makes October baseball amazing.
Amazeballs.
Amazing. And then also we have the Yankees surprisingly leading 3-2 against the Astros, but tonight Justin Verlander on the mound in Houston.
He's going to get it done.
I think he is too. So I think it's going to go to a Game 7, which is what everybody wants to see.
Is that tonight?
That is tonight.
You know what channel that's on? I might watch that.
It is on Fox.
I might watch that game.
Dude, you should, because Houston's going to be electric. And plus, if it's top of his game, Verlander, which, I mean, I'm not going to try to jinx him, but he's usually a pretty big game pitcher. I mean, it's fun to watch because there's just something about playoff baseball that you're on like the edge of your seat with every pitch. Every play matters more than it generally does, especially for a team like Houston, who's really trying to just stay alive. So should be fun to watch. So Houston and Yankees, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be Verlander and Severino, both pretty high strikeout pitchers. Severino didn't look good in the wild card game, but has looked good since. So we'll see what happens with Severino on the road in the dome.
Altuve and Correa are going to light them up.
I really hope so, because
you proud of me? I knew two players.
You knew
on
two
the
players.
Astros.
Good job. Because the
They're
Astros,
two best players, right?
Yeah, those are two best players.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Astros, they haven't been hitting well. So they're talk about shaking up the lineup potentially. Maybe not even playing Carlos Beltran, which would kind of be a big deal, but we will see. We'll see what happens. I really hope for a Game 7 because, I mean, more baseball. And Game 7s are pretty special. So
baseball hell.
Whatever. So I don't know. I'm still rolling with the Astros. I'm predicting them to go to the World Series. Astros, Dodgers, and then I didn't really expect them to do it, and we'll see how the layoff hurts them. But The Dodgers look really, really good without one. Like, one of their best players wasn't even on the roster for the NLCS. Corey Seager was hurt with his back, and that's their starting shortstop and their
Baseball
3-hole
is
hitter.
Weird, man. How do the Dodgers go from one of like the best teams ever to horrible, and now they're really good again? That's kind of a product of such a long season, I guess, but that's so weird.
Because, I mean, that hasn't happened since the 1919 New York Giants. That a team had, like, winning streaks as long as they did, and then also a losing streak.
Was Eli Manning still playing for them?
I knew you were going to go there. You couldn't resist, could you?
I tried to hold back. That's why I hesitated. I tried real hard. Because obviously I know it's the San Francisco Giants, right? They used to be in New York.
They moved out.
That's why they call them the New York Football Giants.
Right. People still call them that.
Yeah. I tried to hold back, man. I really did.
Yeah,
I couldn't help it.
It's okay. That was justified. I knew you were going to go there too. I just looked over at you and I could see it pop into your head. And I was like, you're going to say some kind of nonsense.
Well, Eli Manning is real old, right? He looks like he could have played back then.
Wow. What's that make Peyton then? Did he invent baseball? And Archie? What about him?
Archie was playing with those...
Cricket?
Yeah, he's playing cricket.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
And also there's some house cleaning news here as far as baseball is concerned. Dusty Baker, surprisingly today.
I broke that news to you.
And Bradley broke that news to me, and I'm proud of him.
I mean, I went to ESPN.com, and then it was there.
And then you're like, wow, okay, that's breaking news.
It was there.
So Dusty Baker, everybody really expected him to be back at the helm as manager of the Nationals, but it is deemed that he will not return. So now that's a perennial playoff team, along with the Red Sox. They're both looking for new managers now, and we'll see who ends up getting that job. They either go with a very old, experienced manager who had been out of the league for a couple years, as they did with Davey Johnson and then with Dusty Baker. But in between both of those guys, they ended up hiring a supposed... It's kind of like the NFL offensive coordinator who's like that next head coach in waiting kind of guy. The Nationals did that with Matt Williams, and he won Manager of the Year his first year, blew it in the playoffs, and then his second year was really, really bad. So, I mean, especially with his clubhouse management, he was really bad. So, we'll see what they do. The Nationals don't really seem to pay managers very well. And they've actually lost out on a couple different managers who had agreed to take the job because in negotiations they really tried to get stingy with them. So it's always
stingy.
It's always a drama.
Pay your employees.
I mean, it's really a drama with the Nationals whenever they hire really anybody, because it'll be like, okay, Bud Black is now the new manager of the Washington Nationals. It's announced. Everybody's talking about how excited they are for it to happen, and then the negotiations fall apart, and Dusty Baker gets the job. So, but we'll see what happens, and see if the Nationals next year, which is probably going to be the last year of Bryce Harper in Washington, can see if they can actually get past the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, if they don't want to pay a manager, how are they going to pay $500 million for Bryce Harper?
Also, a thing with the Nationals is they don't actually pay the present value of the contract. So Max Scherzer, his average annual value is something like $25 million a year. He's getting deferred payments for like the next 30 plus years, something ridiculous. So he really is only making about 10 to 15 a year, depending on the year, and the rest of it is just getting paid over different installments later on.
That's really weird.
The Nationals structure a ton of contracts like that, so they're going to be basically paying an entire major league roster 30 years from now, potentially.
It'd be real bad if they went bankrupt.
Yeah, they really need to work out that TV deal with the Orioles. The Orioles are really getting them on that. They get pretty much no TV revenue.
That seems bad because most of baseball money comes from regional TV revenue, right?
Right, like the $3 billion deal the Dodgers signed, which kind of paved the way for them to have all this money they can spend.
Anyway, thank you for joining us in Baseball Hell. One quick update. College football. We missed last weekend, the show, and last weekend there were crazy upsets. So let's talk about them real quick. Clemson, the second best team in the country. Vaunted defense. Great new quarterback. Their new quarterback gets hurt. They lost to Syracuse, 27-24. So
Ouch.
Clemson, they're not out of it. It's their first loss.
But to
and
Syracuse,
it's a tough loss. Washington State, they were ranked 8th. They were 6-0. They lost to Cal 37-3. They might be out of it.
that's going to be really
it's a bad
tough.
loss. Washington lost to Arizona State 13-7. Washington was the 5th ranked team in the country. They'll have to, now all the best teams in the Pac-12 have one loss. So USC, Washington State, and Washington. We'll see how that transpires. That's an interesting conference right now.
It's a very interesting conference to look at.
And then Auburn, the 10th ranked team in the country, lost to LSU 27-23. So, what does this mean? It means we have a new Big Four.
New Big Four. Whoop.
So, Bama, number 1. Penn State moves up to 2. Georgia is at 3.
Uh-oh.
And TCU, the
Hey.
Horned Frogs are at number 4. The undefeated TCU.
You know what? As of now, I'm 3 of 4 in my predictions. That's all I got to say. I'm 3 of 4. Not to toot my own horn or anything. I'm 3 of 4.
I mean, we're 7 weeks in. We got time.
I'm still 3 of 4.
I mean,
I'm still happy about it.
TCU's going to lose and Oklahoma State's going to get in, and then I'll be right on that one. And then USC's going to run the table, and I'll be right on that one. And then I'll be wrong on Georgia when they beat Bama, but that's okay. I'll be happy to be wrong on that one.
Lies.
That's all we had. Thank you for joining us this week on the Rollout Show. Sorry again for missing last week. We're going to try and get back to a regular weekly schedule.
Try to add some different content in there as well. Some more articles and different posts.
Be sure to check out the rolloutsports.com. We're trying to keep that updated with posts. We had 2 articles written in the last week or so. I wrote our consensus top 30 guys in the NBA. We actually came together while watching Monday Night Football and ranked 30 guys.
Hey.
And I typed it all up. And then Weston, his continuing series about underpaid players, recently wrote his NBA article. So if you would like to see the 3 most underpaid players at each position in the NBA, check that out. It's at therolloutsports.com. It's on the homepage. You can find it pretty easily. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We're glad to be back.
Make sure to leave iTunes comments. Interact with us on the socials. We don't get enough interaction. We really like talking to fans and stuff. So reach out to us. That's at the Rollout Show. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, even though Weston doesn't update it when I tell him to.
It's all on our website at therolloutsports.com.
Yep, all the links are there. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. Episode 30.
Bye.
See you guys later.